Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of the PC Boys Podcast. It has been quite some time since I have done a PC Boys Podcast. So this is kind of impromptu, right? I really wasn't planning on doing a podcast, and I just kind of sat down and I was like, I need to talk about Daredevil, since I've watched episodes 1 through 4, give my thoughts on that, and talk about the Punisher special trailer that they had. So I don't know how long this video is going to be exactly, and like I said, it wasn't planned or anything, so we're just going to go with it. But of course, you know, since I don't really do videos super often, I don't really have, I guess, a lot of socials. I still have my Twitter. I do put stuff up occasionally on there now. I still have my Discord, but I don't really post much in it because I haven't podcasted in a while. But I did take down my merch shop because, well, I haven't been podcasting, and I just, you know, I've been thinking about coming back to podcasting, like, on a consistent basis. But I'm still trying to figure out where I would have room to do that, with everything going on in my life when it comes to, you know, what I'm doing at my local church and stuff like that. But without further ado, though, we're just going to talk about some Daredevil and Punisher stuff. So I gotta say, Daredevil Born Again Season 2 has been a very pleasant surprise for me. When it comes to Daredevil Born Again Season 2, I was excited for it, obviously, but I also had some reservations, simply because Season 1 was not good at all. And I am happy to report that Season 2 is a pretty solid season so far. The writing is much better than Season 1. There's Daredevil in every episode so far. And the writing seems very competent. So, a lot of things are going for this series. Compared to last season, where it felt like half the season was written by one team and the other half was a whole different team. Like, you could tell in Season 1 of Born Again where the old creative team had most of the creative ideas and, like, control. And later on, you also see where Daniel Scartape and the second team came on to do all the writing and stuff. That's why, like, the last two episodes of Born Again Season 1 were really, really good, but the rest of the season was just kind of meh. Especially episode 5, which was terrible. Like, they could have completely removed that out of Season 1, and I would have been okay with it. But yeah, no, ultimately, I think Season 2, the writing is better, action's pretty solid. Episode 1 pretty much focuses on the sinking of the Northern Star, which deals with essentially, like, black market weapons and stuff, which we come to find out was being shipped there for the CIA, because there is a reference to Allegra DeFontaine on the phone with, I think it was the Attorney General of New York, but anywho, so that is a callback to Thunderbolts with, obviously, Val, who tried to, you know, get rid of and kill all the Thunderbolts and stuff like that in that film. So there is some greater MCU crossover with the Daredevil series, but it still feels very much like its own thing in its own corner of the universe, which I really like. I think Daredevil should not be this character that gets overly, I guess, put into crossovers and stuff, in my personal opinion. I just think it's something that is not really needed. But ultimately, that's, like, what the first episode's based off of. Now, here's the only problem I have with this series, right? And I have stated this multiple times on the podcast years ago. I don't like when politics is in my show, period. Simply put, my main problem in this series is there are moments with Fisk and the Anti-Vigilante Task Force, and it's clear that the writers wanted to make an allegory, or unintentionally made an allegory for real-world political stuff going on, right? I'm not going to really go into it because I'm here to talk about entertainment, right? I care about entertainment, right? And when it comes to that, it's like, it really is just kind of annoying, right? It's one of those things that I can look past to judge the art by itself, right? But it does affect the show a little bit in some instances. And we'll particularly talk about that for episode 3. But ultimately, you know, We also get to see the swordsman going into his trial. It's not really a trial. And we get to see what's been going on with Heather Glenn, a character I absolutely hate. And she is suffering with PTSD from Muse almost trying to kill her, seeing him and stuff, and she seems to be going on like this dark arc herself, which I do like that. It's actually very interesting. They took a character I hated in the first season, was like, just get rid of her. Muse should have killed her. And they're kind of doing something interesting. Now, if the payoff is terrible, I will say I fucking hate this character even more, and now I really wish Muse killed her. But if they pull it off and turn her into female Muse or do something else there that could be interesting, good. That will be great. But it is yet to be seen how this is all going to exactly play out. But episodes 1 through 3 are just kind of like the build-up. In episode 3, there is a scene, and this is where I said, like, the whole, like, anti-vigilante task force, allegory for ICE and all this stuff, like, where the writing comes in and just absolutely shits itself, is there's a scene where you have Angela and her aunt go into a bodega to get some snacks on the way home from wherever the fuck they're coming from, and they end up bumping into some of Angela's friends, some young boys in a store. They're stealing some liquor. Angela's aunt is telling them to put it back and stuff, and then the bodega shopkeeper picks up a fucking shotgun and aims it at all of them. Angela, her aunt, the young boys, everything. And then you have Angela's aunt trying to de-escalate him, which, by the way, man, you have a gun pointed at you. You don't want to be moving towards him. And even if you get to him, what are you going to do against a full-size man with a fucking shotgun, right? Then the anti-vigilante task force, like an agent comes in, hits the guy in the face, right? I mean, if we were talking about, like, police procedure, if a gun's being pointed at somebody and that's the only context you got, yeah, you're neutralizing the threat immediately. And then the cop proceeds to arrest the kid that was stealing. And this officer, like, you know, up until this point, the anti-vigilante task force is, like, very over-the-top and brutal and doesn't care about law, doesn't care about, you know, fair trials, doing things by the book, right? They're kind of just given carte blanche to do whatever the hell they want to do. And so we see this whole situation play out. And basically you have Angela's aunt go and touch the officer. He says that it's assault and arrests her, and then everybody gets upset about it, even though the guy that was pointing a gun at them is the kind of the whole reason why that happened. I assume that a vigilante task force agent saw a guy pointing a gun at people and said, yeah, we got to deal with that. And on top of that, of another crime happening. And one thing I've noticed in this show, and they did it in season 1 too with the whole, like, kettle corn thing, or the guy that wanted the corn and he got arrested and Matt was trying to do his lawyer stuff, is there seems to be this, like, excusing of criminal acts because we're trying to politically say something. And to me, it takes me out of the story. Because, number one, on a logical sense, that it just goes against any logical principle, right? But the other thing I thought is we're in a superhero show where the superheroes are supposed to be the ones upholding justice. Now, even though the anti-vigilante task force are the bad guys, very obviously, in that one scene, they weren't the bad guys. And even Angela's aunt, the one that was trying to stop the officer from arresting the teenage boy that was stealing, right? He was very, like, non-aggressive tone with her. Basically telling her that, you know, it's like law enforcement business and to move on, right? But he didn't say it in, like, an aggressive way. Even when he said, that's an assault on an officer, his tone was not aggressive. We have seen the Vigilante Task Force be aggressive in every episode leading up to this. So for me, I was watching it and I was laughing at how bad that writing was in that specific scene. Because I was like, number one, in this one scene, the agent isn't in the wrong. And he actually seems to be the most charismatic agent out of all the ones we've seen so far, right? But the writing in that one scene was just terrible. It's like, you have a guy that points a gun at people, he gets neutralized, the kid that's stealing gets, arrested or detained, and yet we're supposed to look at, like, the agent that is taking care of all that as the bad guy, which, yeah, the vigilante agents are bad, but in this one scene, they're not. And I just thought it was terrible writing to get to a point of, oh, Fisk is just locking up anybody. And that plot line doesn't make sense to me either, because it's like, well, why is Fisk just locking up random people? His whole goal is to go after vigilante task force members. Why is he just locking up random people, and why? What is the criteria that he's incorporating in locking them up? They don't ever answer that. Or haven't to this point. They probably won't. Right. And to me, this is where the whole, like, I think the show's good, but when you get to these moments where the allegories to things in real life, which aren't even really good allegories to things in real life, happen, it's just terrible writing. And it takes me out of the whole entire show. And when I say that it's not the same, or the allegory isn't even a good allegory, like, for instance, right, obviously the Vigilante Task Force is supposed to be real-life allegory for ICE. ICE is something that has been, created well before the current administration was in office. Like, it's existed for a long time, and has been used by multiple presidents of all the, political factions. And in the TV show, the task force is specifically created by Fisk for his own purposes. So it's not the same thing. Fisk is, a criminal, kingpin of crime, like in the comic books. And his whole goal is to get rid of vigilantes at any cost, necessary. And basically has free reign on the city of New York, right? When we talk about Trump in real life, he says some crazy shit. He's very polarizing, but he's not a kingpin of crime, and he's not controlling, like, a specific city sector or anything like that, right? So, in my opinion, it's just a lot of wasted time and potential for the series to really dive into Fisk as a character. Like, the task force can be there doing what they're doing, right? But I think trying to do this lens narrative of, look at the real world and look at how we're talking about it in our show, is like, can you just use the vigilante task force cleverly in your show? And I think it wouldn't even be a problem if either the actors or the people creating the show didn't go out on a press tour saying, yeah, this is what we're addressing. That would help a little bit, at least to suspend my disbelief, because I just want to watch a good show. I don't think it should matter politically on the spectrum where you lie. I think if people that are on the left or the right can watch a TV show or a movie and enjoy it, that's great. Like, I think that's how all entertainment should be, is people on the left and the right can go watch a movie and love it. And not feel like they're being preached to, or that there's this messaging being pushed at them. I hate that. I don't care if the right's doing it or the left's doing it. I just want to watch good entertainment that has nothing to do with the real world, so I can just enjoy the movie. Even when in Iron Man 3, when they put the president in there, or with Captain America Brave New World and stuff, like, it has no real world reflection shit. Minus maybe the look of the Iron Man 3 president looking like Bush. Slightly. But that's about as far as the real world comparisons go, right? And they didn't talk about it on the advertising campaign, right? Anyways, tangent done. As you can tell, I'm exhausted as shit. But tangent done. So going into, episode 4, this is when, like, the writing really gets kicked up a notch, right? It feels like OG Daredevil at times. The way that the shots are shot, the action's done, some of the writing feels like OG Daredevil. And some of it still feels like this new hybrid stuff. Not as bad as season 1, obviously, but, you know. And they even show footage of Matt in church from the OG series, which, by the way, I think is great. I think we haven't seen any flashback scenes yet, but we know there's going to be Wesley flashback scenes. There's going to be Foggy flashback scenes in this season, which I'm assuming are coming in some later episodes here. That's amazing. Because I think establishing and really going into that Netflix lore is going to help the series. I think from here on out, like episodes 4 to 8, I think are going to be the best episodes. I think that they're going to entrench more into what the Netflix series was, using those flashbacks, using footage from those, and the fighting, the writing is going to be on the levels more akin to that Netflix series. Like I said, these first 3 episodes prior to episode 4, I think were good. I think that they were serviceable. They were better than season 1. Still not on the level of the Netflix series, but I think from episodes 4 to 8, we're going to see that natural progression. Now, we're going to talk about the Fogwell gym ending. Spoilers, by the way. Okay, so if you don't want spoilers for episode 4, leave now. Bullseye ends up going into Fogwell's gym to get revenge on Fisk and Vanessa. Vanessa is not supposed to be there. She's supposed to be at the governor's. So Vanessa's there. Bullseye comes in. Vanessa wants to kill Bullseye and confront her fears. Bullseye hits a snow globe thing at her. Fisk hits it with his belt, breaks it, and a piece of that shrapnel goes right into her head. So Bullseye not missing, regardless, right? And it's actually insane that we leave off on this episode with Vanessa dead and knowing Fisk is going to lose his complete shit now, right? Because Vanessa's the one thing that keeps Fisk centered. Now that she's gone, all hell's going to break loose. And ever since season 1 of Daredevil, we've seen Fisk and Vanessa pretty much hand in hand. So now that we're going into the 5th season of Daredevil, technically, and now she's gone, we're going to see a whole different Fisk than we were used to seeing. And that I'm excited about. It's a whole new element that we get to play with, which I think is phenomenal. Now looking at how things are going to play out for Daredevil and Bullseye having this weird alliance, that is also an interesting dynamic, because obviously Matt doesn't kill, and throughout this episode he was stopping Bullseye from killing people, or trying to. Bullseye wants to help him, though, and go on this weird redemption arc of killing the people that assigned him to kill Matt's best friend. So I'm very interested to see how that dynamic's gonna play out. Overall, though, I gotta say, Daredevil Born Again Season 2 has been a delight to watch. It's not perfect. The real world allegory shit bothers me to all hell, because I just want a non-political anything in my media, so I can just enjoy it as it's, a fictional piece of media. But you exclude those parts and bad writing elements from the overall season, it's really solid. But I think ultimately Daredevil Born Again Season 2 is the step in the right direction. And it gets me excited for street-level Marvel going into Spider-Man, and seeing how they're going to do things. I think Daredevil's in Spider-Man. I truly believe that Daredevil is in Spider-Man, but we will, of course, wait and see what happens with that. But yeah, I really am looking forward to what's going to be going down. And I think that, looking at the Punisher special presentation, I'm not going to lie, guys. That trailer sucked. If you watch the Punisher trailers for seasons 1 and 2, phenomenal music choice, phenomenal everything. I don't know what the fuck the Punisher special is even supposed to like. Yeah, it didn't look good. Like, the behind the scenes photos of the show looked good, but the trailer that's supposed to get you hyped looked like shit. This comes out next month, mind you. So, literally 1 month from today, the Punisher special drops. Less than a month, Daredevil Season 2 is concluded. That series, that presentation's gonna need a second trailer, and it's gonna need a good one. The Punisher's gonna be in Spider-Man. And I'm excited about that. But I need this special for the Punisher to be good, too. Like, I do want to watch that. And while the Punisher is not, by any means, one of my favorite Marvel characters, I never read many Punisher Marvel comics. I enjoyed the TV show. But the most Punisher media I got as a kid, outside of a few little comics I read of him, was him in the animated Spider-Man series. Punisher's never been my guy. Daredevil has been, Spider-Man has been, Moon Knight. Those are like my top 3 Marvel characters in terms of the superhero side of things, right? Iron Man was never... Well, Iron Man was up there in probably a 4th or 5th place spot. Because I did like Ultimate Iron Man for a while, I read. Back in the days when I was reading Ultimate Spider-Man. Hated the Ultimates, though. Ultimates sucked. Most of the Ultimate Universe sucked outside of Spider-Man. Ultimate Iron Man, I like some of the stuff they did with him. But some. Not a lot of it. But anyways. But yeah. For me, those are like the 4. Punisher's nowhere close on that list. If you want to talk about the most comics I read when I was younger, it would be Spider-Man, Daredevil, Moon Knight, X-Men, pretty much is where most of my comic book reading was. Wasn't a big fan of Captain America, wasn't a big fan of Thor, wasn't a big fan... Well, I enjoyed Hulk. Hulk might be in my top 5. It's kind of hard for me to have a top 5 superhero list because I'm so focused on Moon Knight, Daredevil, and Spider-Man all the time that I kind of forget about Iron Man and the Hulk. Back in the day, I did read quite a bit of Hulk. I'm not a Hulk fan like my dad is, though. But, unfortunately, the MCU's just ruined the Hulk. But, yeah, no. So, back to the Punisher, okay? The Punisher special just doesn't seem super exciting to me. I need another trailer. I need to see more violence. I need to see more action. You know, things that are really going to, like, pull me in to watching it. And that's kind of where I'm at with Punisher, you know, and the special presentation is I was hyped for it, and then I saw the trailer, and I was like, that kind of sucked ass. Like, yeah. Like, at first I was excited, woohoo, but I'm on the Daredevil high right now. And then I watched the trailer again, and again, and again, and each time I subsequently was like, this actually kind of looks like it sucks. Because mind you, a special presentation's like an hour long. It's nothing special in terms of time. And I didn't see a lot of Punisher in his Punisher outfit. So I don't know what the fuck that special's going to be about. It looks like it's going to be about like a mental health, PTSD, fighting with demons kind of thing. I just want a good Punisher series with him fighting bad guys and shit. Because Punisher seasons 1 and 2 are really good. And the fact that we're in a time where we don't really get that kind of writing and stuff anymore, it just kind of sucks. So, but yeah, guys, that's the podcast. It's not super long. Like I said, this was impromptu. I was just kind of sitting here, and I was just like, I haven't done a podcast in a while. Why not talk about Daredevil for a little bit? Talk about Punisher for a little bit. Kind of a chill back, relax kind of vibe. I mean, I'm gonna be going to bed here soon. Like, I'm gonna have to lay down for bed, like, in 20 minutes or so, and try to drift off to sleep. But yeah. I did want to talk about it a little bit. And, you know, like I said, I'm going to try to get back into podcasting. I'm going to try. Before I took my huge hiatus, probably multiple of them at this point, most reasons, gaming sucked, Marvel sucked. Right now, there's some good stuff going on. Now, as I do podcasting as a hobby, like I said, I'm not going to commit myself to a schedule of sorts. I will try to upload once a month. Okay? That's my only thing I can even remotely say, is I will try to upload once a month. It all depends, though. Do I miss podcasting? Yes, I do. I really do. I just don't have the time to keep up with news. That's why I shifted and geared away towards news. I think podcasting from now on for me, in going forward, is just more so like little reviews, maybe some retrospectives. I'd like to do some of those. Gaming, I obviously game. Like on Twitch, you'll see me live sometimes, and I'll play Helldivers or Outbreak, which is like a storm chasing game or whatnot. Like I do like to game. That's where I've been mostly live, is doing Twitch and stuff, playing some games. But yeah, in terms of actually podcasting consistently, I can't make any promises about that. It really depends on time, my energy, and if there's anything I even want to talk about. Like, I'm not going to sit here and do a podcast about something I don't want to talk about. I did want to talk about this. I'm just tired. So, that's the reason I'm just, not saying heck of a lot. But, I hope you all, enjoyed my little yap, my little return out of nowhere. I tend to do that, where I'll make a video at random, I'll drop it, and then I'll go away for a while. But, yeah. It's good to come back once in a while and just talk about things with you guys. Even though, like I said, sporadic as all hell, and I don't have a consistent schedule anymore. But I really do appreciate all of you that even just take the time to watch a few minutes of me just yapping some shit or whatever. But thank you very much for watching, and God bless, and take care, guys.